This is the Mets Postcast, your instant game reaction for the New York Mets. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
The Mets rallied for 5 runs in the 7th and 8th innings to come back against the Los Angeles Angels and take the first game of this series by a final score of 7-5. Welcome into the Mets Postcast here, the Locked On Mets YouTube channel, the Locked On Mets podcast feed. I'm your Postcast host, Chris Schubert, here with you after each and every Mets game throughout the course of the season. And it was a good one for New York. Didn't start out that way, but the Mets bats were able to wake up, got some help from an Angels defense that leaves a lot to be desired, and a shutdown 9th inning from Edwin Diaz, the cherry on top of the Mets now having 2 wins in a row. Just a fun one. Fun to see the team fight. Fun to see the team have those moments in the late stages of this game, and it is that offense, that comeback, the 7th inning, the 8th inning, the at-bats that this team had in those innings that we will be focusing on here at the top of the Mets Postcast.
This is what you'll be talking about.
Let's start in that 7th inning. That's where the Mets were able to get things started. Brett Baty got the Mets on the board earlier on in the game with a 2-run home run off of Tyler Anderson to make the game 4-2. The Angels did add one on in the 7th, so the Mets were facing a 5-2 deficit going to the bottom of the 7th, facing Tyler Anderson to start that inning, and the Mets immediately were in business. Alvarez draws a walk. We'll get to Francisco in his night here, probably in the stuff to keep an eye on. Thought it was a real impressive night for him in his first night back. Acuna draws a single. That gets Tyler Anderson out of the game. It's Reed Detmers who comes in for the Angels, hit by pitch to Nimmo, and the Mets are cooking. Bases loaded, nobody out, Francisco Lindor up. And for somebody who is struggling as badly as Francisco Lindor is, the moment finds you. Doesn't matter where you are in the lineup, doesn't matter the score, the situation. The game will find you when you are struggling. And the game found Francisco Lindor. It's been finding him a lot as of late. Did so a couple of times over the weekend against Cincinnati and puts the ball in play. It was a fielder's choice, but it did get a run across the board. And then the Angels proceeded to do something rather interesting. They did not throw down to second base. They let Lindor just freely steal second base as the tying run. Juan Soto made sure to make them pay for that decision as a single right back up the middle, scored both Acuna and Lindor, and the Mets immediately tied the game. And you could just feel the momentum change at that point. You could feel like the Angels did not put this game away. They did not bury the Mets once they got Senga out of the game in the 3rd inning. They kept the door open, and the Mets just slowly crept themselves back into this game. And then it's the bottom of the 8th. They get some runners on. Baty draws a walk, and Alvarez, you thought, put the team in front just a couple of feet, maybe a couple of inches from giving the Mets a big-time lead. But he hits a double that moves Baty to 3rd. Mauricio grounds into the fielder's choice, where Moncada throws the ball away from O'Hoppe. Baty's able to score, a sacrifice fly. So just doing the little things right? Not a big hit with runners in scoring position. Lindor, fielder's choice. Mauricio, the fielder's choice, and the error. A sacrifice fly from Nimmo. Really, Soto, the only hit with runners in scoring position. But the Mets had productive at-bats when they needed them to, and they took a 7-5 lead. And then it was striking out the side from Edwin Diaz. It threw the first 2 pitches outside of the zone. Got a little worried there that we were going to see the Edwin Diaz that we saw yesterday, the all-over-the-place Edwin Diaz, but found it very quickly after that. Strikes out Chanel, strikes out Trout, strikes out Ward, and it is another victory for the New York Mets. Kodai Senga got the start tonight for the New York Mets, and you knew in only his 2nd start back from the injury, he would be under a bit of a pitch count, and that worked against him, as did his command. You saw it in the first at-bat of the game. Zach Neto worked a very impressive at-bat and drew a walk to start the game, an 8-pitch at-bat to get things started. And that was the tone setter, really, for the rest of the afternoon or evening for Kodai Senga. Did not have the command, gave up some hard-hit contact, walked 3 over the course of the 3 innings. I mean, truthfully, he wasn't going to give you a lot. When the first couple of innings, he was up over 45, 50 pitches. I think at one point in the 3rd inning, by the time it started, I think he was at 56 pitches or so. So it was always going to be a little bit of an uphill battle, but just not the cleanest, sharpest stuff from Kodai Senga. With the season that he has had, he deserves a mulligan. Really the first stinker that he's had this season, the first time he's allowed 3 earned runs or more in his last 31 starts. So I think we grant him the mulligan, but we can say that this was not his best stuff. Was leaving the forkball up in the zone, was just missing with some of his pitches, leaving stuff up in the middle. Hoppy took him deep in this game and just was not the cleanest, sharpest outing for Kodai Senga. And the Mets were in a very familiar spot, not getting depth from their from their starter, meaning it was a heavy usage night for their bullpen. And you worry. You've seen this script so many times. You know that when they have to do this on a day like today, you're already thinking about tomorrow. You're thinking about Wednesday on what this is going to do for Carlos Mendoza. Shout out to Kevin Herget, who came in, gave the Mets 2 1/3 scoreless, really kind of soaked up some innings for this squad. Huascar Brazoban was good. Chris Davinsky did allow the 1 run, but he gave the Mets a solid inning. Brooks Raley's looked good. And then Edwin Diaz shut the door in the 9th inning. So we'll give a tip of the cap to the bullpen for, again, keeping this game close, right? Doing a real nice job keeping this within striking distance, because how many times do we see games go sideways? And I didn't get a chance to do a postcast when I was in New York for David Wright's celebration and the retirement and the Mets Hall of Fame thing on Saturday. But this is what happened on Friday night, right? Where the Mets, they made I don't want to say a poor choice in Carlos Mendoza. I didn't have a problem with taking Chaminade out. I didn't have a problem going with Alex Carrillo, but stayed with Carrillo probably a little too long and then needed Brennan Waddell to soak up the innings. The idea there is Waddell is able to soak up the innings and keep it close so that if the Mets bats do get hot, Carlos Mendoza can flip a switch and turn to his A relievers. And that's kind of what the Mets did tonight. This is the script that they were able to follow. Their guys, Herget, Davinsky, Brazoban, did a great job. And so now, okay, after what the Mets do in the 7th inning, we're going to go to Brooks Raley, a reliever that we trust, a lefty that can get some big outs, some high leverage situations. He got the job done, sets it up for Edwin Diaz to pick up his 20th save of the season. So this is the Mets bullpen doing what the Mets bullpen did in the early part of the season, bailing out the starters when they're unable to give them length. And it was a very short day for Kodai Senga. But again, I think it's fair to be critical of Kodai Senga for this start. The 3 walks, the command issues, leaving stuff up in the zone, some hard hit contact. I think it's fair to point that out while also saying that, hey, he had 31 starts before this one where it was 3 earned runs or fewer. He was chasing down a Jacob deGrom streak with how consistent he had been in that regard. I think it's fair of us to say you get 1 mulligan, especially when you walked into tonight with a sub-2 ERA and you looked good in the 4 innings that you gave the team in your first start since coming back from the injury in Kansas City. So let's just calm it down a little bit, point out the flaws, point out the frustrations with tonight's start, and Kodai Senga is going to be the first to tell you that. Let's see how he bounces back the next time out. The stuff to keep an eye on, some big performances in this game. We'll talk about Brett Baty. We'll talk about Francisco Alvarez. And we'll talk about some stuff that David Stern said today that I thought was pretty interesting. And I saw somebody ask my thoughts on the David Wright stuff. So we'll get to that. Your thoughts, as always, here on the other side. Get the supplies that you need from the site made for the skilled trades, Supply House. Whether you're in plumbing, HVAC, or electrical work, Supply House is the reliable way to order products online. Their easy-to-use website is packed with helpful resources and the latest product info to help you get the job done right. Plus, with a complete inventory of over 200,000 parts from 400-plus top brands, you'll find exactly what you need delivered fast from coast to coast. Maybe you need some help with an order. Supply House offers expert support and industry-leading service. You're always going to talk to a real person. And for those trade pros out there looking for an extra edge, how about their free Trade Master program? You got exclusive perks like a dedicated phone line, free shipping, and discounts on every single order. Thousands of skilled professionals are already taking advantage. Now it's your turn. Join the Trade Master program today at supplyhouse.com/TM and start ordering plumbing, HVAC, and electrical supplies with just a few clicks. Plus, use the promo code SH5 for 5% off your first order. That's supplyhouse.com. Summer sports are in full swing, and whether you're about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or that high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. FanDuel, you can track your favorite matchups. The app's going to keep it fresh for you with new daily promotions and fun ways to bet. Easy to use, fast to pay out, and makes even regular season games feel like must-watch events. Whether I'm placing a same-game parlay or I'm watching a bet ride into the 9th inning, FanDuel makes it feel like I am part of the action. New to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. Back here on the Mets Postcast, Locked On Mets YouTube channel, Locked On Mets podcast feed, recapping a Mets victory, a 7-5 victory, comeback victory, matching their largest comeback of the season over the Los Angeles Angels, taking the first game of this series. Good to be back. Missed all of you. Disappointed that we didn't have a chance to chat over the weekend in a 3-game series with Cincinnati, but I was in the ballpark to watch David Wright get his number retired. One of the coolest sporting experiences I think I have ever been a part of. The game itself, separate, but just one of the coolest things to watch a player that I grew up emulating my baseball game after, a player that I grew up idolizing, can remember many specific plays from his career and can take myself back to the moments where I was when I saw those moments. It was a cool thing to be a part of on Saturday. So if any of you were there, I'm sure that you felt the same way. But super emotional. Was a fun day. I wish the Mets would have won the game to put the cherry on top, but man, it was a very special moment over the weekend. But I did miss you guys. Good to be back here in this chair discussing Mets baseball with you, especially when the Mets pick up a win like they did last night, or like they did tonight. And Francisco Alvarez played a big role. That double set the stage there in the 8th inning, and it was a return for Francisco Alvarez after missing 23 games for the Mets, and he went 1 for 2, drew 2 walks. You saw that patience on display. The opposite field double is certainly a sight to see. Got a little pull happy there towards the end before he got called or sent back down to AAA. So it was really nice to see the patience, really nice to see him kind of take the ball the other way. Was solid behind the plate tonight. Defensively threw out a couple runners out trying to steal bases. And again, good to see him be able to have that moment. I said earlier how the moment found Francisco Lindor tonight. The moment found Francisco Alvarez a couple times tonight, and he came up with some key spots with some runners on base. So fun to see him have that moment in his first game back in front of the home crowd. Gave him a great ovation when he came up for the first time. You can tell that this fan base, we're all rooting for him to succeed, and fun to see him come through in that moment. Would have loved it if it would have just carried a little bit further, gotten over the fence. That would have been a really cool moment. But again, set the stage there for the Mets to be able to take that lead in the 8th inning. So a good day for him. A good day for Brett Baty. 1 for 3. The 2 RBIs, drew a walk, man. Got to start thinking that he's going to be in the lineup every day, whether it's at second, whether it's at third, whether they try to find him some at-bats at DH. He's a bat now that I think you got to start getting into the lineup, especially with Mauricio struggling a little bit. Mark Vientos still struggling a little bit. Baty's bat is too hot right now to sit him down. So you'd have to think that the position that he plays might change on a daily basis. But Brett Baty is one of those names. And I think we said this at the start of the season, right? I mentioned the names that you absolutely write in Sharpie at the top of the lineup. I don't know if I want to say Sharpie yet for Brett Baty, but I will tell you that we'll go pen for Brett Baty's name. Pencil, pen, Sharpie. Sharpie, Brendan Nimmo, Francisco Lindor, Juan Soto, Pete Alonso. Those are the Sharpie names. Brett Baty and Jeff McNeil, I think, are the guys that are in pen, and they're in there every single day. It's just where you play them, what position they're going to play, how you're going to deploy them defensively. That is the question mark every day for this squad. Brooks Raley was great again tonight. 2 scoreless outings to start his comeback for the Mets, and just a breath of fresh air for that bullpen that needed it. I mean, they've been rotating guys in and out. The bullpen has just been looking for anybody to help them out there because they've just been asked to do so much as of late. Really great to see Brooks Raley come back. Give them a lefty, right? Give them a lefty from that side that can pitch those high leverage situations. He can be trusted in the 7th. He can be trusted in the 8th. And I'll be honest, I don't know why you wouldn't, if you needed a backup closer, Edwin Diaz isn't available. I don't know why you wouldn't give Brooks Raley a shot if the matchups dictate that having the lefty out there is the best option for the New York Mets. So great to see him come back. Great to see him pitch well in these 2 outings. Pitched first on Saturday, then they gave him the day off yesterday, and then he was in there again tonight. And again, I think they're going to stay away from back-to-back outings for him for a little bit. They're going to monitor him pretty closely, but a good outing tonight. Now the Mets will turn to Frankie Montas tomorrow, and the real burning question that I have coming out of this game tonight is can somebody give this team length? I was reading a Will Salmon story this morning over in The Athletic, and it mentioned that of the 35, now we'll say 36, including tonight, 36 games the Mets have played, 36 starts that they have gotten, only 5 have gone into the 6th inning, and all 5 belong to David Peterson. The Mets are just not getting length if your name isn't David Peterson on the mound, and the Mets just cannot keep asking this bullpen to do this every single day. every single night. They can't ask for this many outs from their bullpen. David Stearns is going to have to get 7 new arms between now and July 31st and probably deplete the entire minor league system to try to get those replacements. Speaking of David Stearns, he met with the media today, said some interesting things about the state of affairs ahead of the trade deadline, really made it seem like the main priority, the main focus for this team going into the deadline is bullpen reinforcements. Did not mention a huge need for starting rotation. Actually shouted out some of the prospects that we've mentioned here on this podcast that could be replacements for this team, either in the bullpen or in the rotation. So they feel really comfortable with that and didn't make it seem like a bat was in the cards. But if a good deal presents itself, that they might ultimately do that. But a great day for the Mets. Their 24th comeback victory this season, spearheaded by some late bats. Lindor, Soto, Mauricio Nimmo all coming through with the RBI at bats to help this team come back. And again, the Angels just left the door open. They got 4 runs off of Senga in the third. Baty hit the 2-run homer in the fourth to make it 4-2. And the Angels let the game stay within striking distance. And the thing we've been asking the Mets to do a lot this season, can you show us that fight? Can you show us that ability to come back? They certainly did on a night like tonight. It was 1 for 6 with runners in scoring position. It wasn't perfect. It wasn't a great night at the ballpark, but you'll take nights like these when you're able to come back and you're able to pick up the victory. So Frankie Montas will go tomorrow. The Mets will go for a series victory. They'll go for their 3rd straight win. They'll look to keep the good times rolling. We will be right back here on the Mets Postcast here on the Locked On Mets YouTube channel and the Locked On Mets podcast feed to break it all down. If you are new here, hit that subscribe button, turn on the notification bell so that you are notified when we go live. If you're listening to us over in the podcast feed, we appreciate you, but you can join us live, share your thoughts in real time. Think of this as your place to have those instant reactions, those hot takes right after the game. We're here to debrief through it all together. The Mets pick up a very nice victory, a comeback victory, their 24th comeback of the season, tying their largest comeback of the season, erasing a 4-run deficit to beat the Los Angeles Angels in the opener of this series 7-5. We're back tomorrow to discuss the second game of this series. Until then, have a good one, Mets fans.